all remember our first video games, what we thought of them, and how much they impacted us as gamers. I remember my very first video game was Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. Donkey Kong has been in the spotlight quite a bit recently after a long gap of almost an entire decade with no original games. Bro was really getting the Star Fox treatment there for a minute, and it had me a bit worried. But he was quickly pulled out of that rut thanks to the wildly successful Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I really need to finish. I've talked a lot about Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong in general on my channel. Donkey Kong holds a very special place in my heart. Donkey Kong also hosted the game that introduced Mario as Jumpman back in the 80s. Literally, without Donkey Kong, Mario wouldn't have been around, which is wacky and really insane to think of. So I figured that since my channel's anniversary was back in September, almost a month ago, I wanted to talk about the game that started my childhood gaming journey and my first stepping stone into gaming in general. Has anything changed since Donkey Kong Country released back in 1994? Does the original Donkey Kong Country that is now almost 31 years old still hold up today? Or is it kept alive by nostalgia value and the old tales of it being Donkey Kong's rise to popularity in the 90s? Well, you all know the drill. Let's find out. Donkey Kong Country was released back in 1994 on the SNES and was revolutionary for the Big Ape, as it was a platformer made with 3D graphics that were groundbreaking at the time. The catchy and memorable tunes that would either make you hype for the next level or give you trauma, depends on which one. And it was overall a game that had very few negatives to be said about it, something that still to this day rings true, especially for me. So how does this game start? Well, the first ever level in the game is Jungle Hijinks. The game starts off with Donkey Kong, the Big Ape himself, busting out of his treehouse like a missile out of a missile launcher, on the hunt to get his banana stash back that has been nabbed by King K. Rool. The first level is basically teaching you the basics of Donkey Kong Country, what this game is going to offer you as you go on. Jump on this enemy, grab those bananas, avoid that enemy, don't get hit by that enemy, get the Kong letters for a 1-up, avoid pitfalls, and get to the end of the level. It functions a little bit like Mario, but instead, you're a big 2,000-pound ape with his little spider monkey friend, Diddy Kong. You throw barrels, and you also ride on a rhinoceros named Rambi, and find a bunch of secrets that are hidden around the level. Fun! Each level in this game is special, with different mechanics at play. In World 1, you're gonna get the basics. Tropical Forest, Rainy Forest where you gotta swing from rope to progress through the level. Cave level, where you gotta navigate through the snake-infested cave and find a bunch of secrets. Underwater level. This level introduces you to Unguard the Swordfish and one of the best soundtracks in the entire flipping game. And last but certainly not least, Tropical Forest that you must navigate with barrels, and last but not least, I mean it this time, take on a giant beaver. Or is it a squirrel? I still to this day don't know. Take on a giant beaver that hops around and get a giant banana back before heading on to the next world. That's the basic genetic makeup of this game, but it is super effective and very fun to play. It's very different with every world that comes around the corner. There are certain themes for each world, sometimes even 2 themes, like World 2's Old Mines and Old Temple of the Field that comes later on in the world. The game's levels are, for lack of a better explanation, top-tier platforming greatness! These levels are so well designed, each and every one. Okay, maybe not all of them are so well designed, but the majority of them are the right amount of challenging, fun, and crazy, and a little bit insane. For a game that was made in the 90s, the levels are actually really, really good, and the right amount of tricky combined with the right amount of risk and reward. Especially with getting some of those Kong letters. Man oh man, getting the Kong letters are usually pretty easy and simple, but some of them, oh good gracious, some of them are out for blood, specifically your blood. But getting that sweet 1-up from the Kong letters did save me a time or two. They're definitely worth the risk and the pain. This, combined with the secrets scattered everywhere across the world, you best keep your eyes open for anything that looks remotely breakable with a barrel. That is arguably one of the best things about this game. The levels you're so desperate to get the heck out of and never revisit again in your lifetime do hold some pretty damn well hidden secrets for players to either find or completely ignore if you want to just speed run through the game first and find all the collectibles later on. This game definitely was not afraid to say, hey, if you can't beat the level, that is literally your problem, buddy. And I freaking love it. It honestly made getting through the game a lot more rewarding when I finally did beat it. Anyway, some of my favorite levels are just... You guys are probably gonna hate me for saying it. My all-time favorite levels are easily Minecart Carnage and Snow Barrel Blast. Mainly because they were, well, for lack of a better term, freaking crazy. Minecart Carnage is the first minecart level in the game and introduces you to the minecart mechanic, aka one of the best mechanics in the game. I will hear no debate on this, it is one of the best. Snow Barrel Blast introduced, however, one of the worst mechanics in the game. Ice physics! Yes, these suck butt. However, the barrel gameplay here is arguably the best it is in the entire game. I just don't know what else to tell ya. I thrive on chaos, apparently. Then again, that is no surprise that I thrive on chaos. That's basically an Embur lore fact. Whatever that means. The freaking music in this game is almost completely unmatched compared to nearly every other video game I've played in my years of gaming. The only other video game that remotely gets close to recreating DKC's magical music is Mario Galaxy. But this game just effortlessly immerses you into the game the moment you see the title screen. This is all thanks to the musical genius David Wise, the man himself, the GOAT, the legend who brought the first amazing 2 DKC games to life with his insanely wonderful musical talents. These amazing tracks of pure gold are nothing short of iconic at this point. I'd even go as far to say that these amazing pieces of musical masterpieces have cemented themselves into game music history as arguably one of the best ever made in the 90s. They are that good and they are that iconic at this point. But seriously, these tracks are something I would just bop to in the car when I'm chilling. Heck, I was even listening to the music while I was writing the script, mainly just to immerse myself. It still works to this day. I can't really say anything else about it, except for the fact that I freaking love the music. Now, another thing that I liked about the game quite a bit was that this game did a really good job of making each world unique. There are a total of 6 worlds in this game. A tropical forest world, a world with mines in an old temple, an overgrown jungle with danger lurking about every corner, an icy glacier with treacherous terrain and is very much prone to occasional whiteouts, a bustling factory that is very, very, very out of place here, and it also houses some of the most brutally placed secrets in the entire game. And last but not least, an old mineshaft that has been untouched for quite some time that is slowly rotting away and is very dangerous. Watch out. Each of these worlds have their own unique feels and their own way of challenging the player as you progress in the game. But at the same time, they're also pretty charming. It's really nice to be able to look around and, you know, try to find secrets in each level with the barrel mechanic, or just jumping off a cliff and finding a random barrel just hidden down below. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be levels that you get stuck on, which will definitely require some trial and error, and you will 100% lose some lives in this game. I know I sure did. Damn you, Poison Pond! But thankfully around these levels there are barrels that you'll find at the halfway point, meaning that if you die and you got your save barrel beforehand, you'll only have to start at the halfway point, which is a major saving grace in certain levels that can definitely be frustrating or annoying to deal with, because oh my goodness, this game gets pretty dang difficult in some points. But it's the kind of difficulty that makes you stupidly happy whenever you finally get through it and you can move on to the next level. That is something that I definitely experienced a number of times with this game, especially in Minecart Madness and Poison Pond. Those levels will haunt me for all freaking eternity. Oh my gosh, I lost so many lives in those. Now, as amazing and fun as this game is, I can't lie, there are some slight issues with this game, and almost all of them, and I mean all of them, are purely just because of the fact that this game was made in the 90s and just sadly didn't really age too well. Now, on this first one, I am definitely gonna cut them some slack. Donkey Kong Country's devs, this was their first time making a game. This was basically the trial run, so there were bound to be some hiccups. One of those massive hiccups, though, was the bosses. These bosses aren't even remotely hard. The only ones that made me genuinely struggle of some sort were King K. Rool, which makes sense. He's the final boss. He's meant to be tough. If you don't have a tough final boss, then what are you doing? Queen Bee from World 3, and yeah, mainly because I couldn't turn myself around quick enough to get her, but that's a me problem. And last but not least, Neki Sr. The purple one's Neki Sr., right? I don't know. The second time that you fight Neki, for some reason the speed kind of threw me off of how he was choking up lug nuts. But then again, I'm pretty sure that's just a me problem. The other bosses, though, they just were not difficult in any way, shape, or form. They just felt like they were just slapped in the game. They were there to ever so slightly slow you down for a few seconds, maybe even a minute. The only way I've died to a boss that wasn't King K. Rool, the Queen Bee, or Neki Sr., whatever the hell he is, was basically because I just was not paying attention. Then there's this boss called Dumb Drum. And boy, does he live up to the name! I feel like if you deliberately name one of your bosses dumb, there's something going on here. This thing just attempts to smash the Kongs from above into pancake batter, and then dump some enemies out of its barrel drum. You jump or slide into enemies to take them out, dodge Dumbo Drumbo Senior, Junior, whatever the hell his name is here again, and repeat the cycle until he croaks. Which, by the way, he doesn't even croak in a good way. He just freaking gives up and throws in the towel. I just can't with this goober doofus of an oil drum. This is so freaking dumb. But yeah, these bosses just were not good in any way, shape, or form. The only one that I could call remotely good was King K. Rool. I mean, hey, at least they created an iconic villain in Nintendo. Am I right? At least that's one positive that came from the bosses. Another thing that did stir up some problems was easily the difficulty of the game that just randomly freaking skyrockets whenever the heck it wants to. Sure, it's not nearly as bad as other game spikes like Metroid Prime 2 or Cuphead, but man, this game packed a punch, especially when I was younger and less experienced. A level that really packed a punch for me when I was a kid, and still kinda does, was Platform Perils. That level was my literal torture chamber when I was younger. Cheapers, that dang level was brutal beyond belief. Don't even get me started on Blackout Basement. We will be here for literal hours. Anyway, there are random points in this game where it'll just get insanely tricky and straight up crazy, like this game goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And while sure, it's not nearly as bad as some of the other games that have come out after it that also have the insane difficulty spike, but it's still pretty dang tricky to deal with. To name a few levels that are honestly pretty tricky, Snow Barrel Blast. This level has a zinger at one point going around the barrel, making you have to time your jump just perfectly or you're going into the pit. Poison Pond. This level is considered to be one of the hardest levels in Donkey Kong Country, mainly because the green tinted water severely limits visibility and it makes it harder to spot the green bite-sized fish, which by the way, they will bite you. The level is also really long, like it's just way too long for me, especially with those dang mincers and like the spinning spike wheels. Jeepers, I hate that level. And last but certainly not least, Minecart Carnage. And I'll tell you why. In Minecart Madness, you're going from minecart to minecart, meaning there's a smaller hitbox for a little bit of time. But in Minecart Carnage, the very first minecart game in the entirety of Donkey Kong Country, by the way, you have to use the cart to jump, which is a bigger target. So if you're not jumping just right, you're screwed. That's literally it. You're just screwed. Yes, I love Snow Barrel Blast. I love Minecart Carnage. But I can't deny that these levels are just straight up mean sometimes. Especially that freaking zinger in Snow Barrel Blast that I have not forgiven Rare for in all the years I played the game. Anyway, I'm gonna lock that rage box off before I explode and rant for over 13 hours about that stupid zinger. Another thing that I don't think evolved too well was the graphics of the game, which, to be fair, they fixed this in the GBA port. Please do not come for me, I know they fixed it. But in the SNES version, which is the one I'm talking about, basically, these games' graphics did not evolve well with the time. Especially Donkey Kong. He kinda scares me. I don't really have a good reason for not liking Donkey Kong's looks either in this game. It's just, as a kid, I didn't mind. Probably because I was so focused on playing the game. But now that I'm older, I care out of nowhere. What the fluff nuggies? Bro, I just want to play the game and not care and get scared. But yeah, along with DK not evolving too well graphically, the enemies didn't evolve all that well either. But keep in mind, this was 1994. And at the time, these graphics were considered groundbreaking. Quick little history lesson. The reason why these graphics were considered groundbreaking at the time is because these graphics were made using 3D models, then transferred and converted to the beautiful pixel art we got in the game, which now is sadly considered outdated. But to be fair, with games looking like this nowadays, you can kind of notice that this game didn't evolve too well in the terms of graphics. Now, before you GBA port lovers come after me, even though I already said this, yes, they fixed the graphics a bit in the GBA, and it's a ton better than the SNES. Yes, I'm aware. I promise I haven't forgotten the GBA ports. I promise I haven't forgotten. But yeah, other than those minor things, I can't really think of anything else that really stood out to me. Sure, were there other minor things like Kong's and DK's rollout dashes not always being 100% accurate with the hitboxes, but that's a minor issue that I believe was also fixed in the GBA port. Then again, I could be entirely wrong. I haven't played the GBA version since the early 2010s. Please don't come at me, folks. Please. Despite that, the flaws do not overwrite the amazing game that is Donkey Kong Country. Like I said many times in this video, this game was truly groundbreaking and revolutionary back in 1994. I am genuinely so glad that this was my first ever video game, and it forever holds a special place in my heart for introducing me not only to gaming, but also to Nintendo's most lovable ape and Spider Monkey. Amazing people, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you like video and you want to see more videos like this one, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. Also, huge thank you to Lucas for doing the amazing thumbnail. It looks fabulous, Lucas. You did amazing as always. Anyway, you all take care, and I can't wait to see you guys again in the next video. Bye!